You support it. What's the biggest reason you think now's the time to do it, and that it's the right thing to do now?
I think it became absolutely unavoidable when the summary of the phone call came out, plus the whistleblower complaint. And the reason for that is, you know, people can argue back and forth about what he might have done or what we think he did on a range of other issues. But this was in the pursuit of his official duties as President of the United States. And that phone call very clearly indicates an effort to not only pressure, but in effect extort the president of Ukraine over much necessary medical, military assistance that had already been passed by the Congress and was
bipartisan. Yes.
And bipartisan. It was about to be delivered, and the Defense Department was in favor of it, state was in favor, everybody was in favor of it. And then the day after Mueller testified, the president does what he did, holds up that aid, calls the president of Ukraine, and in effect said, yeah, we want to help you, though we have a favor to ask. And I think that pierced through the American consciousness about everything that's been going on for the last, 2+ years. And it would have been a dereliction of duty at that point for the Congress, led by Speaker Pelosi, to say, okay, another really bad thing, we're just going to have to keep moving. They had to look into this. And there's enough concern by former security officials, others who have weighed in on this, that it deserves an impeachment inquiry.
At the very least. Yeah. Now, Chelsea, you set Twitter on fire last week after President Trump called the impeachment probe and whistleblower complaint the greatest scam in the history of American politics. And you tweeted this: yes, comma, you are. Which I love, personally. That response, I checked this morning.
You're laughing.
I checked this morning. By this morning, it had over 260,000 likes. It had over 38,000 retweets. Now, we know Trump can be really relentless with his Twitter attacks. Were you at all concerned about sort of poking that bear?
No.
No.
And I do believe that he's the greatest scam in American political history.
Really?
Yes.
So,
I think his whole life has been a scam, and I think, unfortunately, people are suffering every day because his scam has thus far kind of succeeded at the highest levels. So
you've become really vocal, not only on Twitter, but just everywhere. Did you make a conscious decision?
It's genetic.
It is genetic. It is genetic, but I've seen a change.
I'm so proud of my mom. I'm very biased toward her.
Yeah.
And love her very much and feel very protective of her, although I know she doesn't need me to be. But really, my most important role now is as my kid's mom. I have a daughter, Charlotte, who just turned 5 last week, a son, Aiden, who's 3, and baby Jasper, who's just 2 months old. And yeah, he's very mushy. And I think about the country that they're living in right now, and it's not the country I want them to grow up in. We learned last night that President Trump wanted to dig a ditch at the border and put alligators in the ditch.
And snakes.
And snakes and shoot
in the leg.
Shoot migrants in the
shoot
leg.
migrants in the leg. And, I know that...
Is that real?
We've long...
Allegedly, those are the allegations.
We've long had this, I think, tagline from Adam Sewer at The Atlantic, that the cruelty is the point. I think that article came out a year ago this week. But the depths of the cruelty and the inhumanity toward migrants, towards people of color, towards our LGBTQ community.
War heroes.
War heroes, yes, ma'am. Women, yes, ma'am. Just is not the America that I want my kids or Abby's kids or kind of any of our kids and grandkids to grow up in. And I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that is not the America that they grow up in.
just to go on that, let's talk about his mental state, okay? Because this guy is still obsessed with your emails. He talks about it constantly.
He's obsessed with her.
And with you. Yeah, he's obsessed with her, with you. And also, they're chanting, lock her up. I mean, he has every criminal working for him, and they're worried about locking you up, okay? What do you make of that?
Well, I think three things. First, I do think that he knows that he's an illegitimate president. And because of that, he's very insecure about it. Look what he's trying to do now. I mean, part of the Ukraine scandal that is slowly coming to light is he's trying to figure out how to say, no, it wasn't the Russians, even though our intelligence community and everyone who's looked at this said, yeah, it was the Russians. He's trying to say, no, somehow it was, Obama, Hillary, whoever. So he's obsessed with the fact that he was helped a lot in unprecedented ways.
His ego can't handle it.
Yeah, he can't handle it. But the second thing is he accuses other people of doing what he does.
Yes, projection.
And I didn't understand that projection. I didn't understand that originally, and it was so odd. I mean, he accused people of all these things, and that's like a central part of his personality.
Yes.
And then thirdly, I just think that he is someone who has to dominate and be, the only voice in the room and the biggest guy on the block, the master of the universe, and he can't stand any kind of questioning or any kind of dialogue. I mean, I had the great pleasure of both working with Abby's dad and Megan's dad, and true American patriots, leaders of the highest order, and we didn't always agree. But boy, you could have a terrific conversation about what the options were and how best to proceed. And you'd walk away friends. You'd walk away as colleagues. And now all of a sudden we have a president who gets rid of people who disagree with him, who tries to silence people, who is sending our attorney general, apparently willingly, on this round-the-world trip to make up stuff to try to prove that his election wasn't influenced by the Russians. So I just think that it's a whole constellation of problems, Joy.
And he's helped and aided and abetted by these Republican leaders who don't call him to account on any of it.
Well, in the book, we highlight Margaret Chase Smith, a Republican woman, senator from Maine in the 1950s, who was the first and for a long time only Republican senator to stand against Joe McCarthy. It was a lonely position for her. She went to the floor of the Senate. I mean, I just get goosebumps because having been in the Senate, you go to try to make an important statement. She went to the floor of the Senate. She was actually on the little subway car that takes you from the office buildings to the Capitol, and Joe McCarthy got into the car, and he looked at her and he said, "Oh, Margaret, you're going to go make a speech today?" And she goes, "Yeah, Joe, and you're not going to like it." And she made that speech, calling him out, and really calling her party to take action against him, which eventually they did. And so you need people like that now. You need
Do we have
people.
any? Is there anybody?
Well, I hope so. I hope that, I hope like when, John McCain gave that thumbs up because it was the right thing to do, even though his party in the Senate wasn't in favor of it, and obviously the White House wasn't. I hope we'll see some Republican voices. We've seen a few murmurings out of the House, people saying, this is troubling. This is something we need to worry about.
Either that or they resign.
Yeah,
right?
or they resign.
We need more people that are just saying, I'm done with politics because I don't have a choice. You either have to stand with Trump or you're done.
Chuck
And they
Grassley
leave.
clearly decided he couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
He came out and said, what the hell?
Well, he said the whistleblower is legit.
Yeah.
And
And
protect
you
us
know
from-
what?
Yeah.
Right.
Don't panic. We're coming right